Hey fan peeps, this is your podcast host Kunal here. I started this during the pandemic, and in this podcast I discuss my nerdy thoughts and hobbies with you, with the occasional special guest. From anime to Zeppelins, we talk about it all. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. We have, I think, our sixth or eighth guest. I've lost track because we're so popular now. And her name is Gloria. Gloria, can you introduce yourself? Say hi.
Hello, my name is Gloria, or some people like to call me G, or
Like
GLO, or decide to sing my name in a Catholic song.
Yeah, I mean, like, who would sing people's names in Catholic songs? I mean, they must sound incredibly weird and odd to do those things, when they're talking about Spider-Man at the same time. But, But
I mean, there's a whole religion that follows it, literally both the Catholics and Spider-Man. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, which one are you talking about, the Marvel verse or the Catholics? Because I'm confused on both ends at that point. Because we're gonna get into a holy war of, oh God, this completely started off on the best foot. So there's one of my comedians that I love is Patton Oswalt, and he talks about I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he talks about how every time he's like, I'm an atheist, so I don't care. But you guys got to realize how you sound when you talk to other people who aren't Christian. It's like a comic book nerd going to Comic-Con, talking to one of the actors who go and like, hey, so in episode 5 of season 4, when you were saying this line, and the person will probably respond by going, that was 20 years ago. I remember maybe saying that, but it's been so long, I don't remember what was going on. And I'm like, you guys are you're pigeonholing.
You follow like a religion. You just go into it.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, but I don't really accept those parts, or I don't believe in that. I'm like, y'all just are talking about, instead of Green Lanterns, you're talking about Jesus and whatnot. And Jesus is pretty dope.
Jesus is pretty cool. I mean, apparently it's a big weekend too. So for Jesus,
this is true. Yep. Taken from the pagan holiday of Ishtar, and then they made it called Easter, and we got bunnies and eggs, which totally makes sense.
I never understood. Okay, so I grew up Hispanic, right?
Yes. Tell us about yourself, because I'm gonna stop talking about holy wars. Let's let you talk for a while.
So I grew up Hispanic, right? And in Hispanics, household, any of my fellow Latinos are gonna understand when I say this. It's like you celebrated it so differently when you were younger. Okay, so how we celebrated it is we had this thing called cascarones. Cascarones basically it's the eggshell. So when you have an egg, and you know how you crack open an egg, you drain it, right? Obviously. Mm-hmm. So for this, what you do is that you crack open the bottom part and you drain it and you keep the shell. So you at least kind of have you have the egg that has a hole to put something in it. And in it, you put confetti. So instead of candy or money, how you do in the plastic eggs, we're using the egg, which is a cascaron. And then you get this tissue paper and you put it over the egg. And then our parents, we would do them all together, with our mom and our dad and our friends. I remember we used to go camping and the whole weekend was circled around Easter, but it wasn't circled around how I saw Easter growing up in Omaha. So I grew up in Omaha. I also grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. Shout out to my Cornhuskers. I moved over here to Mizzou this year to take a new job. So that's why I'm here. But anyway, and we would go to this place in Texas and Brownsville and just go camping. And so we were in picture our Easter egg hunt was literally in the campgrounds, with the woods and the trees, and it was so much fun. So our family would hide our cascarones in the everywhere, and then that was our Easter egg hunt. But once at the end, when you had all your eggs, instead of getting together in a circle and opening up the eggs and trading candy, we would crack them on each other's head. So it was, oh my God, it was so much fun. But I have big curly hair. My hair would get the little confetti's just deep in them, in my curly hair. So every single time after, it was you're literally cracking everyone. You're finding the eggs for the first 15 minutes. Then it is a 5 minutes roll of cracking all the eggs. And then it's a 45-minute pickup.
That's awesome.
I talk so much with my hands, so when you have to hold something,
it's just hard. But yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I just heard a podcast on ASL. One of the actors from Next Generation was a deaf actor, and they brought him in. And they had someone transcribe the audio for him, but it was interesting. He's like, whenever you come into contact with deaf people, just like don't be afraid to use your hands. So that just came to my mind. Regardless, the holiday you're just like the way you're describing this like reminds me of how like Indian people celebrate Holi. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yes. Okay. I've never had the chance to go to
Okay.
Holi, and I want to go to Holi so bad.
It's so much fun. I have only done it, I think, once or twice, if I was, and I was a kid at that point. There are
Uh-huh.
big celebrations out for it, and St. Louis is on their SLU and WashU campus. They're huge out
Hmm.
there. I don't remember, to be honest, I don't remember what it celebrates. I wish I did, but
Isn't it the celebration of of spring, or like? Because I remember
I
like
think
we
it
used to
is.
do that at my school, and they
Yeah.
used to like have during the celebration of spring, Holi.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're bang on right on what it is. And basically you just fill up Nerf guns and you just like shoot each other with just like color. And it's so much fun.
That reminds
Um,
me so much of like Easter growing up, man.
yeah,
Seriously. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you experienced Easter with like your friends that are not like I've experienced Easter with friends that are not Hispanic and that are
yeah.
like born and raised Nebraskans, and I'm like, it's so different. So it's very enjoyable, but it's just so different. So more background on me. Parents are
Sure.
Mexican. My dad, I think he had a really cool job. I remember when I was a kid, I would always love to brag about it. And I'm just like, God, I probably sound like one of those kids that's like, my papa, my papa, my papa. No, like, oh God.
As your butler comes up at the background kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a diplomat for Mexico. Is the easiest way I can explain it.
Was he a diplomat like from the States or from Mexico
From Mexico to the States.
to this? Oh, by the way, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I grew up with the best of both worlds, is how I like to say it. My school, I went to, all my education was done in the US. So I was born in Texas. And Texas already is a big melting pot of like Hispanics, Caucasians, and like Tex Mex. Like that's like you really see it there. So
Unfortunately,
I
it's only known for its racism, but it actually is a really melting pot.
it's so sad to be like this is why I like Texas, and I'm from Texas because everyone else just looks at it like a racist melting pot. And I'm like, but damn, like it just sucks that
Yeah.
it is look like that. But
It's kind of
what
like
I
St. Louis. Like you'll actually find like it's segregated. Don't get me wrong, but it's very like this very multi ethnic society, and we're only known for it. And I swear to you, like it's all across the board, all the time internationally. It's like gooey butter cake and racism. That's like people in India were talking about like we support Michael Brown, and I'm like it's like even all the way to India, like people are like I'm like thank you, but I'm like, fuck, this is we're only known for racism out here. God damn it.
well, dude, okay. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah,
So what do you think of Nebraska when you first hear Nebraska?
definitely like farmlands, probably the same stereotypes that come whenever they hear Missouri, like farmlands out in the boonies, really rural, probably not the most integrated.
Because when my father told us that we were moving, because his job also requires him to move. His job is basically there's embassies from Mexico in the states, and he would run the embassies pretty much. So but the thing with that is that with government jobs, like they kind of like move you around. I also like to describe like the military,
Yeah,
like
like my
they
parents
don't
had a similar background.
they don't tell you when you're moving and where you're moving to. They're just like, all right, and they don't tell you how long. Like we were in Omaha for 8 years, and that whole entire time in the 8 years that we were in Omaha, there was about 6 moves that
Wow.
happened while he was there, and you know, I really didn't realize it when I was a kid, but like now as an adult, you look back, especially with my big move that I did. Like my mom would always say, we would start school, right? And so my mom would always be like, God, just one more year that we're here so you can at least finish this next grade in school. And then eighth grade comes and then you go into high school and then another move comes and your mom's like, God, let's not be on this list so that we can finish high school and you can do your freshman year. Okay, then sophomore year, then junior year, now senior year's done. Okay, great. At least you finish high school. If you go into college somewhere else, and we have to move, like, yes, it's gonna be hard, but it's in like that adult phase. But I just feel like I grew up so differently because I always had my family with me. Growing up in that Hispanic mindset in
Yeah.
the American culture. like we don't leave our houses. At least I look at like my cousins and stuff, and
Hmm.
like people that like that are growing up in Mexico, that grew up in Mexico, that grew up different than I did, but they're still my family. Like we don't, we didn't stay with our parents, and we didn't put up with. My parents didn't put up with half of the shit that my cousins are doing
Oof,
because my parents were like hard on us because they knew that one day they were probably going to be like, okay, we have to go here, and you're going to have to like really stubborn up and like just like discipline. Like, and the reason why I explain this is because like my guy cousin, he's like wrecked my uncle's car. He's like gone, like he's like just kicked out of school. Like
oh shit.
he's a good guy, but he's also like, dude, get your shit together, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
My uncle just like I think it's also the culture and the mindset that like in Mexico, at least from what I've seen,
Mhm.
my opinion is that like the men are much more valued there because of a culture thing. You know, the guys go, they do the work, they stay home, you clean, and that's fine to an extent. Because
To an
my
extent.
uncle now looks at my cousin, and it's like my cousin is so disrespectful to my uncle, like, and they still keep paying stuff for him. My uncle's still like, oh, whatever the kid wants, whatever the little boy wants. I'm like, bruh, if I did half the shit, my ass would you we probably wouldn't be talking right now. Come on, I'm
For
just gonna say that
sure.
right now.
I mean, I believe
Seriously.
it. I believe it. Like,
So
it's something I've always found like common trends with other. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like international families. Like, I definitely have seen
mhm.
that. Not so. I mean, I've definitely seen that in my culture too. Not in my family so much, but I've definitely seen other Indian kids who are first generation or not, and the guys are always more valued than the women. And I'm like, okay, this isn't like psychologically damaging for the future and whatnot. Like no wonder like most of them ended up as drunks or in getting divorced like 6 times or something like that. So
Right.
yeah, it's yeah, and even one of my friends, he's been mentioned on the podcast, I think in the show notes before, but if you're listening, Alejandro, like he's
Shout out
definitely
Alejandro.
yeah,
Shout out
Alejandro's he's
Alejandro.
great guy, like someone I've known. I need to have him on the pod. I just you know, we've been trying to do that. He's been so busy, but his family's from Mexico too, and you know he's definitely mentioned everything you've just said, like to it almost to like a scary T in terms of like wrecking a car.
It's
So
like
yeah,
when like Encanto came out and like it was a great
I was gonna
movie and we
ask you
all
about Encanto before we got on today. I was like, is it racist if I bring it up or is it not
no,
related? Okay,
absolutely not, because I
okay,
am the one that will always try to bring it up.
okay, fantastic.
But like when Encanto came out, I loved all like the love and all like the recognition and like all the TikToks. Like I love the love that it was like a genuinely good movie and like people
Yes,
genuinely loved it. Like I feel like this movie they didn't see like color. They were just like, this is a good movie with a banging song.
yeah.
Now I loved it because of the recognition, but then I'm sitting looking at it and I'm like, damn, Disney really did make a movie out of all of this us immigrant kids generational trauma.
It did. It's a real thing.
Wow. It's so real.
Like
But I'm also like vibing to the songs and I'm like,
songs are great.
yep, that's accurate. Yep. Yep.
There's a
Yep, that's
picture
totally
that's
accurate.
been floating around like on the web lately. It's been talking about like movies and there's always the example of threes, but I only got two. It's like Turning Red, Encanto, and then I think another one. And it's like all the writers who are grown up now made movies about like acceptance and intergenerational trauma as opposed to just like goofier things that not to say that Pixar and Disney haven't done hard hitting things before.
No, but I
In
get what you're saying.
yeah,
Like
they
it's
they
not
really
like
are
a
focusing on it more this time.
it's not like the typical like Disney princess. It's not the
Yes.
typical, and coming from someone that loves Disney princess is like, I'm like, yes, I love the idea, like the princess thing. I mean, shoot, I grew up like a princess. Like, we were spoiled in my family. Us girls, oh my God, my dad spoiled us so much. Shout out to dad. Thank you. I love you. Anyway, the point is that seeing something different is like, like, it's so cool because it gets like played out so much. Like, don't get me wrong, I could watch a million Disney princess movies. My favorites are Tangled,
Oh yeah.
Brave, and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. But Aurora from Sleeping Beauty is my last favorite of
Okay.
the top three. Let me tell you why. I don't think she really doesn't do anything other than sleep, and that's what I want to do with my life all day, every day. seriously, if you're telling me all I have to do in life is just get some good sleep and then get woken up by a magical prince that kisses me and is like, yo, we are married, we're living our best life. I'm rich, I live in a castle, and I have a prince. Bruh.
Get some good jammies of Nightfold, like you'll be fine. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
If
But
anything.
then but then you see like Tangled and then you see Brave and it's like these girls are like doing it. Like it's just such the counter opposite. But then sometimes just seeing too many like the princess style, like you get bored.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's where Milan came in and was like, okay, there's more like you can be a princess and or not princess, but you can be just like an average girl. And especially
Yeah.
for Asian families, like I wonder like that one came out so Turning Red could kind of show up later, I feel.
So Turning Red can fly.
Right. Yeah. And I'm actually planning on seeing that tonight. I've heard nothing but good things about it. My niece and nephew saw it and they're like, you should totally see it. I'm like, okay, well, if a 7 and 4 year old are telling me this, then I definitely got to see it.
It is so good. I never thought like, okay, so you know how when you like watch, like you watch SpongeBob.
Oh yeah.
You know how SpongeBob had like the like sexual like jokes that as a kid you don't get?
No, not at
They
all.
just go over your head. So I feel that like Turning Red was like such a relatable one because like I'm looking at it as an adult now and I'm like, it's basically a movie of a girl coming of age.
Can you introduce the dog real quick that you got?
Yes, of course. So everybody, this is Bartholomew.
We call him Bart for short.
Yep. I'm holding a ball right now. Look at him. Ready?
Oh, okay.
Look at it, buddy. He's living his best life. Anyway.
Good for him. What kind of
this
dog
is
is that?
Bart, everybody. He's a miniature schnauzer.
Gotcha.
Bartholomew. You'll see him throughout the day, you know. We're going to be here for a bit.
No doubt.
But going back to Turning Red.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as an adult and I'm relating to it because it's a coming of age story. It talks about a girl growing up and when you grow up you go through puberty and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, like this is the perfect way on how to explain. Like if I ever have kids, well, whenever I have kids, I hope to have kids one day maybe in the future. I want to be able to show them, like if I have a little girl, I'm gonna be like, look, like your body's changing. This movie is gonna make you feel like so good about it. I loved it because I'm like, God, like I wish I had something else to like really just feel good about it because your body's changing. Like I remember when I was, and I think that's, I don't know if that's like a thing with like immigrant parents or like kind of going back to that, but like when you grew up and when you go through like puberty and stuff, it's like they know how to take it, but also like they don't. I don't think any parent does really, actually, not just immigrant parents.
I mean, to be fair, like being a parent is like, from what I've heard, you're going to make mistakes and you're entrusted with a human being. I watched my nephew once and so many crazy things came to my head when I was watching him. I was like, what if he dies in his sleep and I'm like watching him or something? Like, what if something happens? Yeah, and like, what if like something happens to him? And no, of course he's fine. He's absolutely fine right now. But there's so many.
Literally, stuff that goes through your mind.
There's stuff that goes through your mind. I was like, there was a part of me. I was like, okay, I gotta be. I'm like, I went to go downstairs to get something, and I'm like, don't answer the door for anything. Like I started understanding things that my parents told me when I was a kid, and he just looks at me and he's like kind of puzzled, but he's like, okay,
but yeah. Why? But why? Because when you're a kid, you're like, but why? Because I remember my parents. All right, my parents. I don't know if anyone else is gonna relate to this. I hope they do. My parents, when I was a kid, they left me with my sister. My sister's 4 years older than me, right? But they left me with her alone. Like, let's say, I think my sister was like 15, 16, around there. And my parents were always like, don't open the door. Whatever you do not open the door. Like, and they would only leave you for like an hour or two. Like they would just wanted to go like get a dinner with like a friend or something. Like,
so it wasn't a huge deal.
It wasn't a big deal. And it was like down the street. Like it was like to your neighborhood Applebee's or something. Like, you know.
When you're there, your family, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, oh, the irony of it.
Yeah.
But your parents
yeah.
Your parents always say, well, to me and Mrs. was like, no abras la puerta. No abras la puerta. Nunca abras la puerta. Like we're never gonna send anybody to knock on the door. So even because people would say, oh, your mom sent me. Oh, your dad or your mom sent me. It's like they would always tell us like nobody is literally going to ever do that. So
we
you
have
just
the
did
keys
it.
to our own door. We'll come inside. Like
Exactly.
don't worry about anything. Yeah, no, I
So like
totally
we
get
never
that.
did. So we never did. And it's like, but now you're like, oh, like, dang, like I am so excited to meet my niece. Like I said, I had a new goal. Now that you talked about nieces and
Yeah,
nephews, I'm so excited to meet her. She was born in December. We are both Sagittarius.
no way. Congrats.
She was born on the 21st, and I am from on the 13th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Okay, you
we're
guys
really.
are like barely. It's like what, 9 days? 9 days, yeah.
I'm horrible at math.
I saw your like. It's funny because like I don't know if everyone knows, but like I always send people notes to like, hey, like we'll have some sort of a semi script, and it's like you specifically talked about math on there, and I was like, I'm like I know exactly what you mean. I can do some basic math as well, but
But do you ever catch yourself like, okay, what's 2 plus 2?
it's four.
Okay, don't you ever catch yourself just you're like thinking, okay, just to be sure, open calculator, 2 plus 2, 4.
Because
Perfect.
especially if it's for like work or something, I want to check it
Oh my
twice
god.
because
Yes.
what if you're wrong and then that just like falls on you?
Oh dude,
I totally get that. I
I
totally
had
get that.
moments. I had a big fuck up moment at work the other day.
No.
I still thought I was gonna get fired, but
Oh
so
shit.
I'll give you like the context without like giving I'm not gonna steal any company secrets.
I mean, you can. We'll just like cut him out or bleep him or something. We'll just do like the Comedy Central like bleep to make it more funny or something.
I feel like they'll never know. Or like after the bleep, like they'll never know. But anyway, I still work in social media and I had this post, right?
Mhm.
I had the time and the date and I knew the brand and everything. So I'm typing it out and I'm looking over it. I'm reading it once, twice, 3 times. I copied and I'm like thinking about sending it to a friend, to like one of my coworkers. And then all of a sudden I sit there and I look at it again and I'm like, no, everything looks fine. So I delete the message from being sent. So I don't send it to a coworker for like a second advice. So I go ahead and I post it. Posted it at like in the like 9 in the morning, right?
Mhm.
And then at 8 at night, my coworker's like, wait, that's the word hours is misspelled wrong. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? But he didn't tell me this until like 8 o'clock later at night.
So it's
So
already
this
been up there
post
for
has
12
been up the
hours.
whole day. Exactly.
Okay.
So at night, I'm watching the bar, I'm listening to my tunes. I had a good day, like literally, it was a good day at work. I had a great dinner. I made some good food. And Bart and I were just vibing, having the time of our lives on our evening walk. So I get the message, and my heart literally sinks. Like a big old pit just opened and swallowed me whole. I rushed to the post, and I'm like, no, ours is spelled correctly. I took a screenshot, and I saw hours, Ours. That's how you spell hours, right?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
Okay, good.
that's like as you were saying, I'm like that sounds right. Like that's like,
I respond to the team and I'm like, no, ours is spelled correctly. Look. And then they're like, Gloria, there's 2 hours. The second hours is misspelled.
oh.
Oh my god. It was
Oh
like I thought
no.
I had saved it. I thought I saved the moment. I thought I was a superhero of it all. And then the second one pops up and I'm like,
Like you send them a Snapchat of it, and it's like you circle the correct hours, and they're like, no. They send you one back. It's like, no, we forgot the second one, and they
I
circle.
like took the screenshot of it and I sent it to them. I didn't circle it. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, thank God I didn't circle it because if not, they would have
God.
served me a huge piece of humble pie.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my god.
it would have been
That.
calorie full. Like you
Oh
would have.
my god. Oh
I'm
my god.
enjoying all of this, and we've been going on like tangents on tangents, and I love these kind of conversations because it's just like a chill vibe, and that's what I do for the podcast. But tell us like how you came to be, how you found this podcast in the first place, and you can share as much as you like or as little as you like.
So, your lovely co-host and we met and we decided to date. We met
Good choice.
on well, I was. He's a really good guy,
Yes.
seriously. I moved to St. Louis in August, and then I decided I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna jump on some dating apps because before I moved here, I was like, okay, I'm gonna look for groups to join. So I joined this group called Young Professionals of St. Louis,
Mhm.
and then I was like, okay. I joined like St. Louis Date Things to Do because that group has such great food recommendations, and I'm such a foodie, so that's what the reason why I joined it. But
We
anyway,
should talk after about that stuff. I would be up for that.
let's do it.
Okay.
But I was like, I'm gonna jump on some dating. I'm like, some dating apps too, because I'm like, nowadays either you can go to places like I'm at the dog park right now and everything, but it's it's more becoming the thing to like date online than like really go up to a person and talk to them. So I was like, so while I'm here and I'm getting to know people, let's just also jump online.
Yeah.
And my mentality was like, I just moved here. If I meet somebody and if it turns into something, great. And if it doesn't, it just turns into like a friendship. Okay, but like you're just putting yourself out there. So anyway, so then I came across your lovely co-host profile, Mr. Lance.
The assassin.
We both swipe right on each other. And right. Yeah, you swipe right.
Swipe right. Yeah. Left swipe is bad.
Swipe right. No. We didn't swipe left. We both swiped, and we dated for a good, I think it was like 6 months, I would say 6 or 5 months. Well, I mean, we did a lot of cool stuff together. We went to Chicago on his birthday, and we went to go see Andrew Schulte. And Andrew Schulte, he's a really good comedian, and Lance kind of introduced me to him.
Wait a minute, like East Coast guy has a really good, like really strong New York accent, Jewish.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My brother's a really big fan of him, and he's said some he's just really fucking funny. Yeah.
He is so funny. So Lance was like, "Hey, I'm going on a trip to Chicago. I want to go see Andrew Schulte." So, and he invited me to go. I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." I'm thinking I've never seen this comedian before in my life, but we're going on a trip to Chicago. I'm with my boyfriend. We had a fantastic time. It was a really fun trip.
Good.
But I remember we were sitting at the theater, and I asked him, like, "Okay, well, you know how you sit there like pre-show, like it's going on, people are circling in and everything. So we're sitting there, and I love going in theaters. I love seeing like the old like design and everything. And so we went, and when we were like done, like, oh my god, wow. I asked Lance, so how do you know Andrew Schulte? He's like, oh yeah, well, I listened to his podcast. And so we started talking about podcasts.
Oh, okay.
And then he mentioned that he does a podcast with you, and I'm like, wait, what? You do a podcast? Okay, so Lance.
Yeah.
Lance is very
full of surprises.
Yes, that is the best way.
Which is funny because he said the same thing about me too. So yeah, the kid is full of surprises. Like,
I agree. Serious, I agree. So I was knowing who he is. I was like, my mind couldn't calculate it because knowing me, how like being very like talkative and like outgoing, and Lance is more chill and just vibing. I'm like, how does someone that's so chill and vibe have a podcast? I'm like, what?
Yeah. Like that's kind of how. Yeah, you're not lost.
That was a surprise. So I was like, okay, well, let's take a listen to the podcast. Come on now. And Lance and I have in common that we like Marvel. And I can tell you do, like, with your chair.
Yeah.
Please tell me your chair is Captain America.
Yeah. It is Captain America. Yeah.
So Lance and I love Marvel, and we had just flown to Chicago. So really, we left Chicago and we flew back. And that night, the flight got in pretty early, and I was like, I kind of want to get back early. You want to nap, rest before you go back to work the next day. But that same day, we went to go see Spider-Man, the newest one.
No Way Home.
Yes, No Way Home. Oh my gosh. And that's kind of how we started just talking about like how he got into the podcast, and then how you guys, I asked him, what do you guys talk about? Like, what do you talk about more than anything? I'm like, because like even our whole relationship, you can ask him too. I was like, God, you're so shy, and I'm not.
You have to get them talking about things, and once you do, it just like, doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, but it doesn't stop in a very like, it doesn't stop in a good way. Like it's like it doesn't stop and like, oh shit, like where is this like okay, I'll just tell you now, like the short version. Like we met at a weightlifting gym. One of his friends from high school was one of the guys who worked at the gym, and I was working with one of the other trainers. I was wearing a One Punch Man t-shirt, and I was talking to his trainer, and Lance is just like sweating, and he's like tired. And he was always like, he was always super quiet. And then like I finished talking to AJ, the trainer, who always gets a shout out in our episodes, just casually gets shout outs.
Another
It's
shout out. This is
shout
the official shout out to the trainer. Shout
to the
out
trainer, to AJ. And
to AJ.
and so like as I'm like right I'm about to walk away, Lance goes like, "So have you read the manga for One Punch Man?" And I'm like turning around, I'm like, "I have never heard you speak before. What just happened?" And then it kind of became a friendship after that. So I know exactly what you mean. Like he's just very like that's why his nickname in the gym was the assassin, is because he would just go in there, crush workouts, and then like
Not say a word.
and like not say a word. And if you did talk to him, it would be like if at least if it was me, I would just be cracking up, like because the kid just like knew how to do that. And then that's kind of how it started. Because like people who have listened to this podcast, I think it's a really big compliment, because like even if they're not terribly nerdy as such,
Mm-hmm.
they will be like, "You guys have amazing chemistry," and I'm like, "I know." Like
Yes,
I know.
I know. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. So shout out to Lance for introducing
word.
me to the podcast, and
Thank you, Lance.
thank you, Lance.
Um,
Yeah, and then I just things, but unfortunately, sometimes things just don't work, and
yeah.
it's one of those, especially like with like the show. Okay, it's just sometimes like it just doesn't work out because like my personality is very like at a 100.
Mhm.
You will catch me like maybe on an 80 on a bad day.
On a bad day. Okay.
We gotta think positive. I would, if I can tell one thing to anybody, is always, always, always look at the glass half full.
Sure.
Always, 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 always.
Sure.
But anyway, so and his personality and my wavelength always goes one way, and his is just and sometimes it doesn't make music, and it
Yeah,
is what it is.
yeah, sometimes just how it works. Like they say opposites attract, but it has to attract in the right way. And just
Exactly.
and he had nothing but good things to say about you when you guys did date, and then like even after.
I will totally say though, if I ever see him out about, I'm like, yo, Lance, like knowing me, I'm like, hey, Lance, what's going on? Like, I will be like that one friend that is always like, how like you go out and you always see like that one friend that like is loud and like fun and just have really vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
That's gonna be you. Okay. Cool.
That's gonna be me. I'm like, yo, what up? I don't want to get off topic, but yes, that's how I got to know. That's how I got to know the podcast. Shout out to everyone that got me to the podcast.
So then you like he was telling me that you guys were listening to the History Has Bars and It Rhymes episode. Is my two friends in favor? We were talking about like he specifically mentioned that, and I know you saw the Spider-Man episode, but then I also know that you especially liked that episode. So I was just wondering if like we talked about Steve Harvey had a reference, of course, as he should, and then
love Steve Harvey.
It's Steve.
On TikTok, he's hilarious. Like
he's actually like really like I had an uncle that actually met him because yeah, it was weird. And then I want to also talk about your dad a little more before we forget. But
yeah.
But yeah, one of my uncles was in garments. It's actually weirdly enough how my parents met, is because they were in garments, and like so my uncle still did or does it on the small side these days. And Steve Harvey wanted to do a clothing line at the time, and he had like two security guards come in, and he was like very very kind and everything. But I was just like, Uncle Joe, like, how did you just casually meet Steve Harvey one day and then just drop it at a family dinner? Like, who the fuck does that?
Apparently Steve Harvey and your uncle.
Apparently like that. I don't know if anything came to fruition from that meeting or whatnot, but it was just weird. Anyhow, so yeah, we have jumped all over the place, and I have enjoyed it tremendously.
Same.
Something that oddly enough our fathers actually have in common. He's probably gonna get pissed at me for telling this, but he was in Indian politics for a very very short time, and worked on like the lower level, like what they call the junior Congress. Because like there's one day I see a picture in our family photo books, and I'm like, why is there a picture of you and the prime minister? And he's like, oh yeah, I worked for them for a while. You guys want to get dinner now? Like that's just how we treated it too.
Like funny. It's so funny that you say that, Kamal, because I remember my dad every year they would have a reunion in Mexico, and it was like around like Thanksgiving time, if I remember correctly. I
Mhm.
remember it was cold, so I don't remember if it was like Thanksgiving or if it was like post Christmas or pre Christmas or post Christmas. Bottom
Sure.
line is they always had a reunion, and every year the consulates of like whatever, like all the United States consulates would get together in Mexico and have like dinner with the president. And like there's a photo that I was, because we all have those family albums. Like my mom's like recorded and photoed and everything. Like we have like books and books and books of family albums. And I remember some days for fun, I would just sit and look through them. But one day I came across like this photo, and it was like I knew my dad, and then like I knew the president, and I was like, oh, this is super fucking cool, but also like, okay,
How?
cool, moving on. How? Like
Yeah,
how, like, and I that's the moment where I was like, my dad's job is really cool because he got to meet the president of the
that is
Mexican
cool.
like nation, you guys. Like,
Question,
oh,
was that the president of Mexico, you said?
president of Mexico,
So
yeah.
was that
So
Vincente? Vincente
no,
Fox?
he met Vicente Fox,
Okay.
but the one I think that I saw was with the one before this, the current one. So currently, it's a guy called his nickname's Almo.
Okay.
And God, I don't know what the acronym stands for,
We can
but
circle back and put that in the show notes or something. That's no big deal. Yeah.
yeah. But the president that he was with Enrique Peña Nieto, and
Oh,
it
I
was
definitely
just,
heard that name before. Okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah, and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like a really cool, like it was two photos. There was one with like him and like the president and all the other consuls. So basically everybody else that had my job position as well
Mhm.
that were in consulates, and like from Texas, from New York, from California, like all of them down in Mexico, like for their yearly reunion. And I remember it was like so cool. And like I would go take it to my dad, and like my dad would like tell me about like his trip, and and like all the other presidents that he like met, because I was like, oh my god, like I was like looking at my dad like my dad is fucking awesome. Like his
Yeah.
job is so cool.
His passport, like no joke, his passport must be full of stamps. Like it must have everything stamped up, I bet.
Another cool fun fact I have, like, because I'm a Mexican citizen and a U.S. citizen, so I have dual citizenship.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
I have like two passports. So it's always super cool because like I get to go travel to Mexico and enter Mexico as like I'm a Mexican citizen because I am
Right,
a
just
Mexican
no
citizen.
problems, just come
Just
right
just
in.
just come right in. And then same thing for the United States. I'm a United States citizen. It's just smooth sailing. Come on in. So
Okay.
like I grew up with the best. I like to say I grew up with the best of both worlds. And I remember going to like my dad's office and just like seeing his like desk and the Mexican flag like right next to his desk.
Mhm.
And like the back part of his desk in his office had like photos of us and like his awards. And I remember just standing there and just like admiring it all, They always say that our parents are proud of us, but at
Mhm.
that moment, I really felt like proud of like my parents.
For
I don't
sure.
know if
Yeah,
that's
like
like a thing, but it's just, I felt like so proud of them. And I was like, God, like we're so cool. not to try to sound conceited, but it was
no,
really
no, no. No, it sounds really cool. Like I have
cool.
a ton of questions that follow into like, did he ever go to the UN? I mean, you said he met other people in the international
Yeah.
diplomatic world. But like, how did before we even do that? How did he even get to this?
So
What was the path to that?
this is from my knowledge.
Yeah.
My dad studied international relations in La UNAM. I do know La UNAM because I have like his college. His college is called La UNAM,
Okay.
and he studied international relations. And then he went into foreign affairs. Is the best way I could explain it.
Gotcha.
Uh, and there's two different kinds of paths that you can take within that career, from what I understand. And one's like the best way I can explain it is like one's for life and one's like temporary. It's like full time, part time kind of thing, I guess.
Gotcha.
And he decided to go for life, like a career. So he got sent to work in an embassy when my sister was just 3 months old.
Okay.
So my sister
And did he
was
have
born
like
in
a master's
Mexico.
degree or was it just like undergrad and then kind of go?
It's kind of like a master's degree, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm sorry. So he graduated from UNAM with his like master. Let's equivalent it, make it equivalent to like a master's. And then he went into like into the actual field. And then that's when it's like you're like, you can possibly get, because you study international relations, you study your country's rules and regulations in basically someone else's country, someone else's rules and regulations in a way. Like
Sure.
so, and that's just like the in and outs of like politics and international relations. But they left Mexico. God, when my sister was 3 months old, she's 32 with a baby. So years
Gotcha.
ago.
You
And
just
my
made a
dad
bunch of
went.
people so like collectively groan like, no.
I think I just made my sister groan too. She just had a baby and I just called her old. Oh my god.
It's okay. She's just achieving her legend status, as I like to say. So
No,
yeah.
she's just the best. I love you, Laura.
Like I'm turning 30 in a month, and I'm just like, okay, it's time to be a legend. Let's do this nonsense. All right.
Let's
Um,
change
the youngest of the oldest people, the oldest of the youngest people at this point. So fantastic. Okay,
Oh,
I am the bridge that connects both worlds.
they did no, dude. We know as a younger sibling, oh shit, son to my sister. I'm gonna tell you that right.
Oh, for sure.
They so they ended up moving to. My dad got his first official, posting as a alternate, pretty much. So basically,
Okay.
you have your consulate, and then you have like your consul alterno, is what do you call it? So it's your alternate consulate. So that's what my dad, that position that my dad took to go out after his studies and all that jazz. And then they went to California actually.
Oh,
Um, and then they went from California to Texas. And then
okay.
in Texas, they went in two places. So we lived in McAllen and Eagle Pass. And then my family's life changed when they moved to McAllen because Moa was born. Oh God, I sound so conceited.
Word.
When the second child came into their life, the
There you
youngest,
go.
the pride and joy of the family, the
That's
young
right. It's
child.
always the number two that they get really well. The sequels turn out really well.
Oh my God. But as the youngest kid, it sucks when like your niece comes into the picture, or your nephew comes into the picture, because it's like, I have trained you well. Like it's grown. It is now. It's now the attention's on. Now you are the next golden child.
Exactly. Now you're like the baby of the family, so like you can. It's like what like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like it's no longer Ashley, now it's Nikki. So it's like the kid.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, that's the perfect way to put it.
you are
Yes.
welcome. Um,
So, but when he was in California, from what I understand, he was in California. He was still an alternate, and then when they went to Texas, it was a promotion. But we lived at the border of Texas. Like we didn't even do like Austin, Houston. No, like we grew up in the valley. I was born in the valley. I grew up
you're a
in
Valley girl.
McAllen.
No way.
I was born in McAllen, and
Okay.
I grew up in Eagle Pass, Texas. So shout out
Gosh,
to McAllen and Eagle Pass, Texas.
you were not kidding when you definitely have lived like all over the place. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
My
much.
goodness.
And like the whole time you're like growing, like as you're growing up, you're growing up with like you're moving with like these people, like your mom, your dad, and your sister. Like these are when someone asks me, "Oh, like how's your family doing?" Like don't get me wrong, I love all my cousins and uncles and everything, but like your family that you grew up with seeing every single day that you resonate, like your family, your heart, your mind, everything. It's like your mom, my dad, and my sister. Like, and then you reach a point where you grow up and you're like, well, now I'm here. She's there. She's there. He's there. Like everywhere. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weird. It's like you have your own postings now.
yeah.
Yeah. Like everyone has their own chapter, like the chapter of this family, the chapter of that family. And
And it's so interesting seeing like my immediate family start creating their own chapters. Like my sister with her marriage, then with her now with her daughter, me with getting a new job and moving to a new city and growing in like my own and like truly really by myself for the first time.
mhm.
Like it's creating your own chapters and it's wow. Like now I feel old because now I'm seeing everything happening.
I mean, well, if you heard the Spider-Man episode, you know I'm doing that like the next 8 months. So yeah,
What? Okay, so
yeah,
let me ask you a question since your birthday is coming up.
yeah.
When have you stopped counting? Have you hit that mentality where you just like stop counting birthdays?
In my like after I turned 21, 22, yeah. As I was nearing like towards 30, I started counting again. So like around 27,
Okay.
I'm like, okay, it's starting to count again. But I think once I hit 30, I'll stop caring until I'm close to 40. So it depends. I think it's like when you're nearing certain age marks, like when you're a kid, it's like 16 or 13 if you want
When
to go
you're
to
a kid, you can't wait.
right. You
Like,
can't wait.
what is up with the universe like fucking us with this reverse psychology?
Yeah,
Seriously. When you're a kid, you grow up and you're like, yes, yes, yes. And when you're an adult, you're like, no, no, no.
it's like
No.
Homo sapiens, like they didn't figure out how to like properly evolve the brains. It's like, okay, yeah, everything's gonna seem so slow till you turn like 22, and then it's just gonna be blitzing fast.
Mm.
And your brain is like, yeah, what'd you do? Like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, something else. Something else would be great.
This is like the
Um,
worst roller coaster ride I've ever been on. Just
I know,
saying.
I know. I read articles that was like, the older you get, that's just how your brain changes and how it does that. I don't know.
But see, like I'm still
Yeah,
excited to count like how
yeah.
I feel like my 30s are gonna rock.
I
I'm
actually am looking
27.
forward to mine, which
Yeah.
some people are like, oh my god, you're like. I remember like everyone as a kid, everyone as an adult would be like, oh, this is the best time of your lives, and then they were telling me like as I was 18, I'm like, well, fuck, everything's gonna else is gonna be terrible then.
Yeah.
Um, and it's typically, and I don't, well, I throw shade. I just don't do it too often. But like definitely it's often people who like now there are some people that get married right after college and it works and it makes sense. But
Right.
a lot of them who are saying this are typically people who are like, "Oh yeah, I had no freedom after that." And I'm like, I feel like you need to restructure your life if that's your like I've heard people say like after college is the best years of your life. And I'm like,
Like
I
no.
had great times there, but I'm
No.
happier now than I ever was.
Exactly. Like I
Yeah.
don't have the pressure of having to do like all these essays and work and I mean it makes me
Yeah.
sound horrible. But like it's true. Like it's just like you're just enjoying and living your best life. And like I said, nothing wrong with meeting like your soulmate at like 18 or getting married at like 24 or 21. Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Not for me.
Yeah. And I'm kind of
Because
glad I didn't because
yes,
I've changed so much since then.
I have this theory that if you get if you didn't get married like in your early 20s or like later on in your 20s, statistically, if you get married earlier,
Mhm.
the chances of you getting a divorce are higher than you getting married when you're older, like
Okay.
later, like
We're on the same
27.
page now. And that's
In the
actually fairly accurate to my experience because I went to 7 weddings after college ended. Not kidding.
God.
Four of
How many
them,
of those are still married? There you go.
four of them are like divorced or split.
Seven.
And
We
so
got
three of them
three.
made sense. So yeah. And so I'm like, fuck. Okay. It made me feel a little better.
Like I did something right in life.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's kind of like it's like Keanu Reeves. I just fucking dodging bullets everywhere I go. Just the Matrix style. And
Let me matrix it out.
so is your dad retired? We completely jumped the train on
we
that one.
we did, and we didn't even. Sorry, Dad. So my dad is currently from Eagle Pass to McAllen to Eagle Pass to Omaha, Omaha to Arizona. Me and my sister stayed in Omaha. You know, graduated college, got jobs there, everything. And then from Arizona, my dad was there for like about I think maybe like 2 years, I would say 2 or 3
Okay.
years, and then they moved back to he got sent back to Mexico City to work just like in the government or the embassy there. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Back in Mexico City. So
Okay. Cool.
yep.
So now he's just chilling back in home country. Cool.
So we're hoping he'll get sent back out to work back again in Omaha. You know, closer to my mom, my sister, the baby.
Right.
It's easier for me to travel to them than them to travel to me. But you know, and we're still. It's honestly, I'd rather do the 6 hour drive to Omaha than the day flight to Mexico. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Sure. Yeah.
hopefully he'll be able to finish out. He's still working. Hopefully he'll be able to finish out his last couple of years in Omaha, preferably, and then retire in Omaha, and then we'll all be together
That's wild.
in the
Yeah.
same country.
So I wanted to also touch on one point. It's a bit, I mean, not heavier, but like I always like to make this point in the podcast whenever it does come up with race, like that there, like the world is more integrated than you think, and so ethnically you are more African than you are Hispanic. Am I right or am I wrong? Or could you school me on that for a minute?
Well, welcome to my classroom.
Okay.
So actually, and I'm surprised because this answer tends to shock people sometimes.
Mhm.
I've gotten Samoan, I've been asked if I'm Samoan. I've gotten asked if I am biracial. I'm actually 100% Mexican. Both mama and papa
Gotcha.
are Mexican. Now there probably is African like roots deep down. I've been like a 23andMe thing, you know, like
Okay.
deep down. I don't know, but no, I have no idea. But immediately, mama and papa, los dos son mexicanos. I'm mexicana.
Okay, cool. All right. Because I definitely have heard that there are a lot more African genes in Mexico than you think. Like, and they kind of draw that.
100%.
Yeah, and they draw that in Encanto quite a bit. Like they show like parts of his family being Afro Latina as well as just Latina as well.
This theory isn't wrong because
Yeah.
further down south, like once you hit like Central America and then you go down to like to Colombia, Venezuela, like Argentina, Brazil, like Chile, like you're good. Like it's so heavily African.
Not influenced, but like present, I guess.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that little guy, Theo Felix from Encanto.
Yeah, like you can't miss him. And I love how they had that his son and
Oh God, his son is so cute.
his son
when they
and
have a little kid like him.
what he is adorable, and he has like one of the best powers too, of just like being able to talk to animals.
At the dog park, you know how much conversation we would have today, not just with me, but with like every other dog here.
It would never end.
Oh my God, no!
You'd be like
Absolutely.
catching all of like the tea from all of the owners. You'd be like ruling the city.
all the secrets.
All the secrets, all of them are just coming out. In the last couple of minutes, like what kind of hobbies do you have and stuff like that?
I love to sing and dance.
What? No way.
I love it. Like I will have days like when I'm just in my apartment and like I'll turn on some music and I'm just jamming out.
You karaoke at all?
Oh, I actually just went to karaoke last night.
Awesome. I do a lot of rap songs for karaoke, and
oh, you do?
People are always surprised when I say that. But yeah, I've done a lot of rap songs. And people who are listening that know that I've done like Rap God from Eminem. A lot of problematic words, but I've done Rap God and I've done Iggy Azalea Fancy. I do like Beastie Boys.
Oh God, you do like you like. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Because that is not easy. I'm sitting here thinking Freaky Friday by Chris Brown and Little Dicky's hard, and you're actually doing Eminem. My God.
I love the reference though. Good for you. Like most people don't bring up.
It's still a good song.
Most people don't bring up Little Dicky as much as I think they should. So yeah.
Little Dicky is a funny rapper that should be protected at all costs, I think.
Like Dave is just pretty fucking hilarious in the first place. His show that came on Hulu was like that was just a wacky show. So weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But no, I mean I've had such a good time talking to you, man.
Good. I've really enjoyed it too. Like whenever you have conversations that are just like going on tangents all the time, it's a sign that you're having a good time with somebody. Right. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would love to have you back and everything sometime.
Any time we can talk about like oh my God, we can even get into Marvel. That'll be fun. That'll have to be for another time.
That's okay.
But I'm telling you, my teachers when I was a kid, my mom real funny. My mom asked my teacher, I mean, how's she doing? And I think, I don't know if it's true or not, but you know, because my teachers would always tell me to stop talking in class. My teacher would look at my mom and be like, ma'am, she could talk to a wall and get a good conversation out of it. Like, so.
I can see the PTA conference going on right now. It's just like I am like I love your daughter, but she's exhausted. Like it's so
talk so much.
Oh,
granted, my speech teacher loved it.
Oh,
loved it. Like, math teacher, like, and the thing is that I genuinely I got along. Like my math teacher and I, and this is so ironic because I hate math. She actually made it enjoyable because I think I genuinely liked her.
That's the whole point of teachers. Like that's why I hate that it's a field that's not patronized and that's not supported, and they're just hiring anybody that comes off. And I'm like, of course you're gonna hate all these classes if you have people that are qualified to know it, but not qualified to teach it, because they're two separate things.
Yeah, very much so. It's but watch Abbott Elementary. I know. Abbott Elementary.
I have heard nothing but good things about that show.
It's such a good show. I'm the kind of like show watch. It's so good. I'm not a teacher. I don't know. I can't Yeah, I can't say that I know anything about education. I know I love those teachers that I had. I love and still to this day love. If I would have seen them, I'd be like, let me give you a hug. Like that, they show that aspect so well. It's such a good show. Go watch it. Go
One of
support your
the
teachers.
yeah, support your
It's a
teachers, love
great
your
show.
teachers. They're good people. They're people just like my when I had Sid and Faber on. Faber was a former teacher, and Sid's also done some teaching too. And they were like, Abbott Elementary is way too real. I had to I think they had to stop watching at some point because it was just like too many memories floating around in their head. But yeah, hey, I'd love to have you back, and thanks for doing this. Hey, fan peeps, thanks for listening, and I'd love any feedback you have for me. Please follow the Facebook page, They Need a Hobby, and follow us everywhere, social media wise, under the handle at TNAHpod. That goes for Twitter and Instagram, and one of these days, I'll be super popular.
Look at him, look at him, look at him. Okay, let me show you this. Let me show you this real quick though, because
Please.
he loves to look at him. Okay, this is Bartholomew. You see how excited he gets?